Romantic, I'm not so good, to be honest. Romantic things. I went to dinner once. It was great.
Jannik Sinner once captivated the world with his sledgehammer forehands and icy composure on the court. But at the 25 US Open, it wasn't his shot-making that set the internet abuzz. It was a private image accidentally revealed his phone's lock screen, which showed a blurry photo of a mysterious girl. That brief glimpse was enough to ignite a firestorm of speculation, turning the world number one's love life into the main topic of conversation. The tennis community couldn't ignore the hot gossip fellow players smirked in the locker room. Coaches made veiled comments about a new balance, and the crowd buzzed with excitement when cameras caught the very same girl in the stands at the US Open. A leaked secret, an unconfirmed romance, and a slew of ambiguous reactions, all of it came together to create a story that left fans everywhere, both surprised and eager to uncover the romantic truth behind the scenes for the world number 2 Jannik Sinner. The leaked photo that caused a stir, no one expected a seemingly harmless moment to ignite a storm of rumors. It was a muggy evening in New York during the 2025 US Open. Round 3, just after Jannik Sinner had sealed a 4-set victory over Denis Shapovalov. The scoreboard was clear: 5-7, 6-4, 6-3, 6-3. But it was in the moments of rest after the match, when he picked up his phone, that the tennis world was drawn into a new secret. The TV camera panned down from above, catching Sinner as he unlocked his phone. In a few fleeting frames, viewers noticed something unusual. The background image was clear, not a landscape photo, not a familiar sports brand logo. Instead, it was the captivating, smiling face of a woman. Fans quickly pieced it together. It was a photo from an Armani beauty campaign posted in July. The woman was none other than Laila Hasanovic. The news spread like wildfire on TikTok. The clip was cut and shared with the provocative caption, "Sinner has a photo of Laila Hasanovic on his lock screen, so the rumors are a small detail, but like a spark sweeping across a dry field." It instantly ignited fan curiosity. They speculated, could this be the evidence that Sinner had confirmed his long-rumored relationship? The moment's explosion wasn't accidental. For months, rumors about Sinner and Hasanovic had been swirling across Italian and European media. They had been spotted walking in Monte Carlo, linked to photo shoots in Copenhagen, and Laila had appeared in the stands at major tournaments multiple times. But these were all isolated pieces of a puzzle until the phone screen unintentionally became a public confession. What made it so special was the ambiguity. Sinner is a private person, always maintaining a clear boundary between the court and his personal life. There had never been an official statement, even in an interview with Corriere della Sera before the US Open. He had only briefly acknowledged yes, but we don't talk about our private life. A statement that both confirmed and denied, leaving room for imagination. And then the phone background appeared, as if he, whether accidentally or intentionally, had let the audience piece together the final part of the puzzle. In New York that day, the atmosphere was buzzing. Reporters in the press room immediately started discussing the photo, comparing images, and sending links to each other. On social media, thousands of comments appeared in just a few hours, from surprise and excitement to skepticism. Some Italian fans saw it as Sinner's most public love confirmation to date. Others were wary, suggesting it could just be a coincidence or even a publicity stunt. But for those who follow Sinner, every small detail carries weight. He's not a talkative player, nor is he loud on social media. He almost never posts about his private life and never shows off. So, when the phone background photo was revealed, it became even more precious, like a rare thread for the world to weave a love story. This is what created the mystery. Did Sinner intentionally leak it? Or was it just a slip-up, a momentary lapse of caution? No one knows the answer. But from that moment on, the world's number one's love life was no longer just a rumor. It had come to light in the form of a secret seen through a phone screen. And as Sinner advanced to the 4th round to face Alexander Bublik, the atmosphere around him had changed. His serves and rallies on the court were no longer the sole focus. Fans looked for signs of softness, of peace. In his every expression and gaze, the signs of a man in love. That fleeting moment, a few seconds of camera time, had opened a new chapter. Tennis was no longer just a battle of physicality and skill. It had suddenly become a hidden love story, unintentionally revealed. And the biggest mystery of all, how would his fellow players, who witnessed it from the backstage, react to this unexpected proof of love? Backstage gossip in whispers. Sometimes secrets don't need to be spoken. They float in the locker room air, hide in a quick glance, or are heard in seemingly innocent comments. This was exactly the case with Jannik Sinner after his phone screw moyenne was revealed at the 2025 US Open. The backstage scene became thick with half-joking, half-serious signals, making everyone believe that his colleagues knew more than they were willing to say. A few reporters tried to pry, asking other players what they thought about Sinner's performance this season. The answers were usually brief, sometimes just a slight smile. Alexander Zverev, after winning his match, once said, "He seems very relaxed, very focused." The compliment sounded normal, but in the context of the exploding rumors, it took on a different meaning. Relaxed, focused. These two words stirred the public. Could it be that love was giving Sinner this rare sense of balance? Others were evasive. When an Italian journalist brought up Laila Hasanovic's presence at Wimbledon, a young player simply smiled, shook his head, and changed the subject to his match. That evasion, while containing no information, gave the impression that something was being kept under wraps. It was like a room where everyone knew the truth, but no one wanted to be the first to say it. In the tennis world, discretion is an unwritten rule. Sinner understands this better than anyone. At the Italian Open in May, when asked about a photo of him with a woman in Copenhagen, he flatly replied, no, it was no girl. I had to do some business. Just a couple of photo shoots there. That's it, nothing else. A statement that immediately shut down the conversation, but simultaneously sowed more suspicion. Because not long after, he admitted in an interview with Corriere della Sera, yes, but we don't talk about our private life. A mix of denial and confirmation, this contradiction turned his private life into a puzzle, forcing those around him to speculate. To his peers, Sinner remains a model of professionalism, always focused, always calm. But after his win over Shapovalov in New York, something had changed. In the locker room, people whispered that he appeared to be in a different mood, more relaxed and more approachable. A pat on the back, a fleeting smile, these small signals were enough for the press to build a story. Love was making him a different person. The truth is, no one would confirm. No top player explicitly named Laila Hasanovic, but no one denied it either. Instead, their answers always remained in that ambiguous zone. When asked about Sinner's improvement in 2025, a veteran coach simply said, "He looks like he's found his balance." That statement, which could have been about technique and strategy, was immediately linked to his private life by the public. This ambiguity created the mystery, because backstage, silence doesn't mean denial. Silence is often a way to make a secret more intriguing. With every forced smile and every evasion, the public became more convinced that Sinner and Laila were indeed a couple. And that's what made the story so compelling. From a single phone background, the secret spread through the locker rooms, the press rooms, and gradually enveloped the entire US Open atmosphere. Sinner's fellow players, with their very discretion, had unintentionally fueled the wave of speculation. They didn't need to say a word. They just needed to stay silent, allowing the void to speak for itself. In tennis, a strategy of silence can sometimes be more effective than a confession. And in Sinner's case, the silence of those around him was the strongest evidence, a secret no one would confirm, but that the whole world was talking about. When love appeared in the stand, backstage, every word lingered in an ambiguous zone. Sinner's colleagues would just smile or offer a vague comment and walk away, leaving fans to speculate. But if the locker room was where secrets were kept, the stands were where they were forced to face the light. There, among thousands of faces, cheers, and waving flags, one face was enough to make everything else fade. For Jannik Sinner, that face was Laila Hasanovic's. In July 2025, Wimbledon was at its peak. Sinner entered the second round and defeated Alexander Vukic in an emotional match. However, what excited the media was not just his powerful forehands or precise serves. In a moment of camera panning, Laila Hasanovic was caught sitting in the stands. She was not there as a girlfriend, but as a representative for a brand, Armani Beauty. But the coincidence was too big to ignore on the same day. At the same time, in the same place, Sinner won and Laila was present. The broadcast only showed her for a few seconds, just enough for viewers to recognize her distinctive brown hair and the face of the 2019 Miss Universe Denmark finalist. That alone was enough to make social media erupt. People cut out the photo, zoomed in, and compared every detail. Posts appeared in a frenzy. Is that really Laila? Is she there to cheer on Sinner? Wimbledon, the world's most historic tournament, had suddenly become the stage for a mysterious love story. If Wimbledon sowed the seeds, the US Open turned it into a storm. In September, New York was ablaze with lights. Sinner advanced deep into the tournament, and then in the semifinal match, the camera caught Laila in the stands again. This was no longer a vague coincidence. This time the image was so clear that no one could deny it. The Danish beauty, in elegant attire, sat among the crowd, her eyes following every shot. Once again, the camera captured her face. On the giant screen of Arthur Ashe Stadium, Laila became the center of attention, almost alongside the match itself. The crowd buzzed, social media exploded, and the press quickly published photos with headlines, "The Muse in the Stands." Suddenly, the love story that had only existed as a rumor had taken concrete form right before the eyes of millions of live viewers. The mystery lay in the reaction. Sinner, as usual, maintained a focused expression, never once glancing toward the stands. He continued to serve, move, and play as if everything off the court were empty space. But that very silence only increased the weight of Laila's image. If he had acknowledged her, it would have just been a piece of news. But because he said nothing, the whole world became more convinced that it was true. Sinner's colleagues also adopted a similar attitude. No one mentioned Laila by name, but some of their off-topic comments suddenly became clues. Words that might have only been meant to praise his performance were immediately linked to his personal life by the public. In the press room, the air was tense. Everyone wanted to ask. Everyone wanted an answer, but the answer never came. Laila's presence in the stands turned love into a second character in all of Sinner's matches. Every shot he made was accompanied by her gaze from above. Every save point raised the question, was he fighting for something more than just a title? The media called her Giorgio Armani's last muse. But for tennis fans, Laila had become Sinner's living secret, a secret she had unintentionally brought to light. And then, as those images spread worldwide, the picture became clearer than ever. It wasn't just a leaked lock screen. It wasn't just the Monte Carlo rumors. Now, love had stepped directly into the stands. Under the lens of dozens of cameras, the only remaining question, would Sinner continue to remain silent? Or would he one day break the secret that the whole world had already seen? Awaiting the main character's confirmation, a phone opened on Arthur Ashe Stadium, a lock screen accidentally flashing, a camera pan at Wimbledon, a clear shot from the US Open stands. These scattered pieces, when put together, suddenly formed a love story that the whole world could see. But strangely, its main character, Jannik Sinner, still chose silence. And that very silence turned everything into an unsolved mystery. The story started with the lock screen photo. Fans on TikTok recognized the face of Laila Hasanovic, taken from an Armani Beauty campaign in July 2025. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, the clip of Sinner on the bench was everywhere on social media. Proof of love had appeared on the world's biggest stage. But instead of confirming or denying, Sinner chose to say nothing. This wasn't the first time he had avoided the topic. A few months earlier, at the Italian Open, when asked about a photo taken in Copenhagen, he had replied, "Oh no, it was no girl. I had to do some business. Just a couple of photo shoots there. That's it, nothing else." That firm denial only made the public more curious. And then, a little later, in an interview with Corriere della Sera, he unexpectedly admitted yes, But we don't talk about our private life. A short statement that both confirmed and left room for speculation. That void was quickly filled by images from the stands. Wimbledon 2025, Laila was there, as an Armani Beauty representative. On the very day Sinner defeated Alexander Vukic, US Open 2025, Laila appeared at the semifinal match, the camera capturing her face as her eyes followed every ball. They called her the muse in the stands. Once again, Sinner offered no comment. His colleagues also adopted a similar attitude. No one mentioned Laila by name, but some of their unrelated comments suddenly became clues. Statements that might have only been meant to praise his performance were immediately linked to his private life by the public. And just like that, every indirect statement became another piece in the mysterious puzzle. This created a paradox. There was too much evidence, from his personal phone to images in the stands. But the truth was never confirmed. Sinner remained silent. Hasanovic didn't speak up, and his colleagues just smiled. Because of this, the story became even more captivating. Fans didn't need a confirmation. They already believed what they saw, and the lack of an answer only strengthened that belief. Perhaps this is how a secret becomes a legend, not by being made public, but by existing in a gray area, half revealed, half hidden. For Sinner, his love life was no longer a private matter. It had become part of the grand spectacle of tennis, where every gesture, every glance, or a lock screen photo is scrutinized under the global spotlight. And so, the final question still hangs in the air: is this an obvious truth? Or just a clever rumor cultivated by the media and the public's imagination? The only answer Sinner leaves behind is silence, a seemingly deliberate silence, as if to say that some things are more intriguing when they remain ambiguous. The secret has been revealed, but never confirmed. Perhaps one day, Sinner and Laila will step into the light, holding hands for the cameras. But it's also possible they will let this story forever drift in the hazy space between rumor and truth. And that's what makes it so appealing. Tennis isn't just about intense matches, but also about the secrets the whole world waits for, but are never spoken aloud. In sports, the stories people remember aren't always about amazing shots or shiny trophies. They're often in the small moments: a phone accidentally revealing a background photo, a familiar face in the stands, or a single vague comment in an interview. With Jannik Sinner and Laila Hasanovic, it was these seemingly trivial details that sparked one of the most talked about love stories in the world of tennis. What's fascinating is that no one involved has clearly spoken up. Sinner chose silence. Other players offered a wry smile, and the press cleverly suggested more than they confirmed. And the fewer the explanations, the further the story spread. Fans from Monte Carlo to New York pieced together every fragment, as if following a compelling secret being leaked little by little. Perhaps one day, Sinner and Laila will make everything public, or maybe they'll keep the story in this half-light, half-dark state. But it might be that very ambiguity that keeps us all captivated. Tennis is inherently a game of high tension, but sometimes what holds the audience's attention is in the off-court moments where secrets, love, and curiosity blend together to create an irresistible allure. We are not responsible if you misunderstand or misapply this content. Please use your own judgment to consider. Verify and absorb it selectively. Did you like it? Give it a like, comment, share, or subscribe to the channel. That's the fuel that helps us tell more top-tier stories about other tennis superstars.